Welcome to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. My name is Juri. I'm your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today and listening or watching. I really appreciate you. Now, A Gift from Adversity is a book that I wrote in 2020, and that came on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, and it's available all over the world. It's called A Gift from Adversity, subtitled Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. And I am a survivor of all these adversities. And along the way, I've learned some methods and wisdoms, and I studied a nonprofit along the way to help other people. After I published my book, I've gotten a lot of feedbacks and some messages where they shared their adversities. And I felt really compelled to create a platform where people can specifically talk about adversity and the method that how they overcame and a gift that come from adversity. So today I am very excited to have my friend Deron Reynolds as a guest for my show. He is now residing in Japan, but he's originally from America. So I'm very, very honored to introduce you to Deron Reynolds. Hi, Deron. How are you doing?
Oh God, I'm great. Yeah, it's nice sunny day today, and it's around noon here. So we're dealing with big time differences at the same time. But it's so good to see you. It's so good to actually talk. We're always so busy. We don't get to actually talk like this very often. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. So,
Oh,
Deron, uh, can you please introduce yourself to our audience, your name, and what you do?
okay, sure. So my name is Deron Dean Reynolds. I hail from around the Seattle area in the Northwest in the US. I moved to Japan after college. I've been teaching English here and doing music here pretty much since I first got here. I'm kind of traditionally a classical piano player, but I fell in love with blues music. And at first, I was really heavy into blues when I came to the Japanese scene. Most of that's Kobe and Osaka. So I moved to the right place. And I played with lots of the kind of famous, kind of aging at the time blues artists there, and kept playing music, kept writing music while I was here, and studying Japanese. That's what I studied in college. And once I started mastering Japanese, I got more and more chances to go higher up the level. And eventually, I worked for a record company here in Japan, Giza Studio. Check it out. I worked there. I wrote songs for a few artists. I'll just drop a couple names. The most famous is probably Aiuchi Rina. Switch that Rina Aiuchi if you're looking for it in English. And I also worked with the main songwriter for Kuraki Mai Kuraki, among a lot of other artists there at the label. So it was a huge chance for me. It was basically me getting my dream. And I was way at the top, writing lots of songs in the studio every night, busy, working 36-hour long days. Not joking. Julie knows what I'm talking about, I think. If you talk to anybody in the record business, that's not unusual. Like you're just up all night recording. You still have to stay at the studio in the office the next day. Well, anyway, that lasted for a while, but it eventually, as most like relationships in music do, fell apart. And so I haven't been working with them, but I have been in Japan. I gained the experience and the knowledge and the producer skills to make music for about any project. So now I make music for film, especially. But I also make my own songs, and I run my own music label, Blue Orb Productions, here in Japan. I'm working hard on new music at the moment. I also run a school here, a music school that is a rhythmic style. If you don't know what rhythmic means, it basically means moving your body or speaking to music. And I use that as my main focus to help try to teach kids and people engaged with music from an early age. I'm a big believer that all kids should at least be exposed to music a lot. If not, really be encouraged to like use an instrument. Not pushed though. I'm very against the whole, isn't it Kawasaki style teaching, like where the kids play violin from age 2 or 3 or whatever. That kind of stuff's too much, in my opinion. Unless your kid loves the violin, and I think it's fine. But anyway, I'm very into child education. I'm very into how to make music and make it in the music business. I'm in several bands. I'm a piano man, professional piano man. I'm the guy at the bar that you tip the money, and ask for a request. That's literally what I do for a living. So times aren't so good right now for us, by the way. You might guess from the pandemic. It's kind of hard to get a live show when nobody's out. So, but that's the kind of stuff I do. Yeah, and I too, am very interested in mental health. It's a big issue here in Japan because Japan's kind of behind the times in a lot of mental health areas, if you ask me. A lot slower than a lot of other countries, but still, on the whole, I have real issues with depression, and that's the hardest part when you're trying to do music, because you go very up, you get very high, and then you go very down, and you got to learn to push through and keep going, even if you feel terrible about it. So I've rambled quite a lot, but that is basically me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for that. So now, how can people follow you? Instagram, Facebook, or a website that you have that you want to tell people how to?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook are the two best ways. I do have a Bandcamp site. So if you go to Bandcamp/Blue Orb Productions, you'll see my music label and all the stuff I've released so far for the film. We still got a bunch more music we're going to release. The film just came out this last December, so it's still out and about. We'll talk about that too. The film's name is Matcha and Vanilla. So Matcha is Matcha, and then and Vanilla soundtrack. If you type that in anywhere, Spotify, Amazon, whatever, it's going to pop up. And because trust me, we're the only ones with that name for a soundtrack, and it should be easy to find. So it's all over, anywhere, any streaming service. And you can also get it, of course, at my Bandcamp site, Blue Orb Productions, the Bandcamp site. Oh, sorry, Julie, I can't see you. Oh, there she is. Okay, and let's see. Other ways, Instagram. I am the Geminiac, TheGeminiac, and I also post most information on my Facebook page, which is Facebook/ again, Blue Orb Productions. That's the name of my music label / well, it's the name I use for my private business stuff. Not quite a company yet, but basically the same thing. That's where you can access all my music. The most important stuff I want to talk about is stuff for the film, the soundtrack. The soundtrack turned out to be phenomenal for this film, and the film is very powerful. It's a story of two ladies, Japanese ladies, who fall in love, and the story of how they can't really show their love publicly in Japan, and the issues that occur from that. One of them gets sick, and it's a little bit of a sad story, but it's a very powerful film about the issues of the LGBTQ community here in Japan. And I had a chance, because of the pandemic, to spend a lot of time working on music for that. So it ended up sounding way bigger in scale than I was even thinking it was going to be. When we made an entire soundtrack of pop songs for that. So that's what we're selling. And they're all good. They're all great music. Most of them songs I penned. Almost 90% of all the music in it is mine. So
That's
big.
amazing. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you. One to you too, by the way, for all your success lately. Yeah.
So let's switch the gear to our main topic, which is adversity. So I really thank you for coming to my show. When I originally started, this was part of my manifestation to talk about adversity, which is not easy for many of us.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you being brave. So what is your worst or the greatest adversity that you endured in your life?
Well, I mean, for me, it's basically depression, but it's deeper than that. My family, I think, on the whole, and I've talked a lot about this with my uncle, who just happens to be my dad's twin brother. My uncle is a psychologist. My dad's a lawyer. Those two are twins. It seems an odd combination, but if you met them, it doesn't seem odd at all, really. They're both people. But anyway, the point is, he often said that our family has kind of like just low endorphin levels, is how he described it. And if you know what endorphins are, that means it's very hard to feel happy, almost impossible to feel happy, and it's very strong from, particularly my grandma side of the family. But but at any rate, the point is that we already kind of had that, and just in general, kind of abusive family situation in different ways. I won't get into too many details, but it was not easy, and I had a very poor relationship with my family when I left for college. And one of the main big reasons I wanted to come to Japan was like I just wanted to be on my own and be kind of away from it all. And I found out that like a lot of my feelings and emotions were tied deeply to depression. I finally found out I had clinical depression. And it makes it really hard when you're doing art to get very high very quick when you make something cool. And usually that's when I start to feel happy. Like the endorphins finally pump up high enough when I'm playing music or playing with kids, running around gleefully with kids is another one, and pumping weights, exercise, that kind of stuff are all ways that can help boost your endorphin levels. It can be such a simple, small chemical imbalance like that. And the problem is the best endorphin driver type drug is cocaine, which is not exactly easy to access. So there's really not any one prescription drug that helps with that. But most people that have that issue are often depressed, have depressed like symptoms anyway. So lots of ups and downs. I get low. I've seen the abyss. I've thought about suicide at times and things like that. It gets really tough when you're dealing with this kind of thing. You can't control it. It just kind of goes up and it comes down. And then when it's on the way down, you got to remember and hold on to certain values and different things and different stuff that won't keep you sliding. Like, you're going to feel bad, but you're going to want to keep going and want to, usually routines. Like for me, it's simple as sitting and playing the piano. If I play the piano and I start creating, I always feel better. Or if I just play a song I feel like playing at the time. And I know this is fun talking with Julie because I know she's like that. She's also a piano player and she takes lots of cool film of her just playing random things sometimes. Me too. I actually like to do Facebook Lives and things like that all the time. Sometimes just when I'm sitting down and I'm just flowing, I you don't know where it comes from sometimes, but that's my meditation. And that's my way of centering myself. And it's my way of helping, even if I'm feeling down, at least feel better. And it starts turning around, right? So it's not quite manic depressive. I hate to make it sound like that, but the ups and downs, basically. I mean, for me, it's not manic. Manic is even on a crazier level because I've met manic depressive people in my life. And it's like they cannot be controlled kind of thing. For me, it's just me getting back to like very normal, happy levels most of the time. So, without being too in depth about it all, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's everybody has the things in life that bother them. For me, it was mostly family issues. Unfortunately, my father passed away before I could really have a lot of time to talk to him about stuff I was really hoping to talk about more. But that happens and you got to move on. And pandemic doesn't help either. There's been quite a lot of negative things, but you just keep trying to find fun stuff to do. And for me, that's the key. I want to have fun. It's why I do kids lessons and I do stuff with kids. I want them to laugh and have fun. That makes me have fun. That makes me feel better about life, in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much for explaining and sharing it with our audience. And depression and mental health. I know I grew up in Japan in 80s, and I overcame. I'm a victim of the child sex abuse from my dad in Japan, and then there was no counseling service or like so much stigma. And if you go to counseling in Japan, maybe like you are considered quite crazy, or it's just like PTSD. I've never heard of PTSD until I came to Berkeley College of Music, and then my guidance counselor told me, "I think you have PTSD." And then, what is that? But I think maybe after the earthquake in 2011, I heard on the TV a lot more often and about the sexual abuse and all that stuff. I think it's like a Me Too movement. I think it's getting talked about, but I'm not there. So how is it in Japan in terms of depression and mental health? I know pandemic added a lot, but in general, somebody from America observing American mental health kind of aids that we have comparison to that, how is it in Japan?
Okay, so this is a good question, and I'm going to start by saying she's very right. It's basically zero, non-existent. Especially when I first got here, it was really zero. Now it's not zero, but it's still not good at all. But they've improved, and I'll get to that in a second. But there's two ways of thinking about this. One is, well, yeah, in Japan, they're like that with mental health issues. And it's true that they hide stuff and everything. But at the very least, if you try to go get help, you're not going to lose lots of money because they have universal health care. In America, they do not have that. So I'm guessing it's very expensive to do all these things. I want to try them. And I think I could probably afford trying some stuff when I go over there. But that's one thing that Japan at least has got right. But the way they deal with mental health here is exactly how Julie just described. And she's Japanese. And she should know that like lots of things are just kept kind of secret and unspoken a lot in families. It's true. It was true in my family too. And that caused me some scars. But like it's not to the degree it is here. And the stuff that she went through was particularly painful stuff that she couldn't really talk to anybody about or get any help for. A lot of people are like that in Japan. Too many. And and most of them end up on the streets or just end up somewhere they get dropped by society because they can't hold a job. They don't know where they are, or they're just walking around, wearing weird, crazy clothes, or, it's the same story just about anywhere. It can be really bad in Japan, though. You get shunned and basically kind of kicked out of society in a lot of ways. Like, it's just harder to, people won't believe you or believe your story sometimes. And that can really hurt. But on the clinical side of it, the medication and the stuff that people can get here, I mean, nowadays at least, it's much, much easier to find at least doctors that'll listen to your story, prescribe you the medication you need. And it's not just like a rubber stamp and you need more kusuri. Okay, yeah, you need more drug. Okay, here you go. People are starting to do more of an actual clinical thing where they talk about how you're doing, ask many questions. Some doctors are better at that than others, but on the whole, it really is just like a means to an end. Like if you got prescribed something that works, and then you need to keep getting it, and you need to go to the doctor once a month to get it. So in general, real psychologists, like counseling style, don't exist here. It doesn't exist except for the foreign community where there's a few. But I'm telling you right now, their reputations are terrible. I think the problem is, and I Judy, you can correct me if you think this is wrong by any way it means, but I think a lot of people that move to Japan all have mental health issues. Like, I think it's a reason why you leave a place. Like, you didn't like some kind of past trauma, so you move away. My story is not unique at all. It's a similar type of thing for a lot of people here. And also, I would go even further to say that I think all human beings have some kind of mental health issue, to tell the truth. They just don't know it. I think it's quite a normal thing for every human to have some kind of issue that they need to be working on. And that should be considered mental health. I mean, that's basically what it is. If it's anything that impedes part of your life in any way, well, I think that's a mental health issue. Obviously, some are more deeper than others. I've unfortunately had friends that have kids that have had to go through that, and they're desperate to get their kids help, and they went from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor, and nothing works because it's so slow here. They're like, nobody can give any like new light on the subject. It's just, well, you gave them drugs, right? What else are we supposed to do? And that's it. Now, I do take medication, and it's just mild antidepressants. I'm not really taking very heavy amounts of anything, but like it helps for me. I always feel better when I don't need to take it, if that makes any sense. I'll be so happy or just so tired that like I'll just sleep naturally, and I'll just feel happy naturally, and I'll forget all about having to take them. But I mean, on the whole, I don't mind taking medication. I think it's fine if that works. I think each person's different, you know. In Japan, there's just no options, zero. Yeah, I mean, I talked to Julie about her experience doing what was it? I can't remember the term for it, but taking some kind of psychedelic or something like that and having counseling. And like, I was like, I would like to try something like that. But the rules in Japan are nuts. Well, magic mushrooms used to be legal in Japan actually 15 years ago. But like, after that, it's like insane idea. Nobody would do it here. Everybody would be like, are you crazy? Why in the world would you? Like, because of it, they're doing it in other places. You guys can't be blind, medical marijuana use and stuff like that. Don't even think about it. But CBD is finally here, and CBD kind of helps. I've tried it some here, and it helps me with stress. I got to admit, it's not the same as the real thing, if you ask me, but like it's still, that's something, and that's a step, right? And so it's all tiny steps,
Yeah, it's very difficult topic in Japan, and then LGBTQ as well, and then mental health. Those are like really some of the stuff that America is more cutting edge, and then we're just comparing two countries right now, America and Japan. But Middle Eastern countries, African countries, and then like some of the South Asian countries, like a lot of countries are so behind, and I think America has more accessibility and like choices, but also just to let you know, after the pandemic, a lot of people needed a counselor, and then even like around 2019, before the pandemic, say for instance my kids needed a counselor, and it was a year wait list, and then once we got a year wait list, we got some, then they quit in like 2 months, and I had some who fell asleep on the phone, and it's just like 3-4 months they say a wait list and then more. So it's not like you can just walk in and then just have counselor. And at the same time, though, to be honest with you, just be blunt, like no disrespect to the counselors who are trying to help patients and clients. But to me, sometimes it's hard to see the silver spoon and the privileges that they have, that they went to college and then master's degrees and then having this career where I was homeless and I had no money, and then I was abused, and then they don't have any of this adversity, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I just feel like pointless to share my adversity with somebody who absolutely have no idea of what I'm talking about. However, they read a ton of books and knows like kind of what to do, which I appreciate that. But at the same time, trust issue is really hard too. So like, mind that in America, like in Japan, like, just finding counselor itself is hard. But at the same time, opening up to even a friend is hard. And because there's such a society where we have to say neko kaburu, which is means like, wear like a cat mask, a social face, where people can't even like say anything wrong. And so much of like honne tatemae, which is the real intention, and then like a fake intention. And so, professed intention, actually, the real translation, professed intention, real intention. So I know you are American, but dealing with this cultural things, adding to depression and all that stuff, how difficult is it for you to survive in Japan in terms of those issues?
Well, I mean, it's a fun place to live, right? I like Japan because, frankly, I enjoy living here, and so that helps. I've always had lots of fun here. I speak Japanese, I read and write Japanese, and I enjoy the culture an awful lot. Even though the issues we're talking about are definitely a huge weak point inside Japanese culture. At the same time, I've kind of my adopted homeland, right? So like that helps. When I'm feeling down, I go, well, I'm having more fun than I probably would living in the U.S. I enjoy it here more. I got lots of chances here. I got to work on a music label and stuff, and I found all my success here. And now it's a digital age. I like settling down here a little bit too. Although going back to Seattle sounds fun as well. Point is, yes, it's a little bit hard. It's especially annoying when you go to a doctor and you're trying to talk about how you feel, why you're feeling so down and like so tired and like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And all they do is say, well, can give you some pep pills. That's like literally the only like answer I got from any doctor anywhere. Tried going to like say Shinka, like the basic like mental health, like it means like mental health and nervous system stuff with your brain, basically. And like I got misdiagnosed all the time. Like people couldn't understand that I just had depression. They're trying to find every other word for it but depression, and it's ridiculous because the doctors here just don't know what it is, and they don't like going to these drugs, any type of drug that might make you feel better or happy. The word gaman in Japan is used
I
so much
know.
in hospitals. Gaman means like just bear it. You can do it. Like I had an operation once where the doctor insisted it's not, if you just gaman a little, it's not that painful. I was screaming like I was like having a baby or something. It was insanely painful. Like it sounds brutal, I know, but in Japan that's just so normal. They just expect people to like just bear the pain. It's not a big deal. It's too risky to give you a drug that might, 1/1000th of a chance, like kill you or something, or make you feel sick or have a side effect that makes you feel better. It's hard to describe, but there's this masochistic side to Japan that's weird, about that. Like you just bear it, it's like Harajuku, like it's the worst painful way to die you could possibly imagine. And yet people really do it. Like even in this last century, there were some famous Japanese writers and people that did Harajuku seppuku style killings in public, just to make a statement that they can bear the pain. I don't know what it is. It's masochistic, though, isn't it? Don't you think so? It is something about Japanese people that just have to bear the pain and have to hide it away and wear that mask. The mask, The Stranger. I love Billy Joel's song, The Stranger. Like when you put the mask on, and that's what that whole song's about. But Japan takes it to a whole another level. It's not just your personal mask. It's like there's your personal mask that you might show to friends once in a while. Then there's a family mask. Then there's the in public mask. Then there's the mask of in the office space where you're kind of in public, but you're with people and you work with. And it's just like every single situation you have to act completely differently. And then when everyone drinks beer, all of that comes loose. And then Japanese people go nuts. They drink beer. And they drink sake like crazy during like Hanami, like the cherry blossom season. Julie knows nodding along with it. It's insane. You'll see Japanese people dancing around naked in the middle of the park, like, and like doing, like, just people just going nuts. Like, no way Japanese person would act like that in public normally. But because everyone's drinking outside, it's completely accepted. So, there's a lot of weird stuff like that, and I notice it. But like, as a, I'm a U.S. citizen, and I'm pretty smart about these issues. So I just kept pushing and pushing till I found the right people to talk to. And like, I basically have the only real outlet for helping my problem is taking medication. But counseling, sometimes counseling helps. I've done counseling a few times and I've found it great. I have the same kind of experiences as Julie does, I think, although I don't think of it the same way as you. I was pretty lucky, like, not to have homelessness or ever that kind of stuff be an issue in my life. But it doesn't make my problems any worse. And I always feel like when I'm talking to counselor, like, boy, you really don't understand me, do you? Like, that's what it feels like sometimes. And like, if it's a good counselor, they can get around that quickly and just get to the heart of the issue. If it's a bad counselor, they're going to make you feel pissed off the whole time. And it's no fun. So, I mean, like, that's the problem with counseling in general. I mean, it's like, it's really a skill that you have almost sometimes naturally. If you're good at interviewing people, or you're just good in general at talking to people, you can get to the heart of issues quickly. Yeah. Some people don't have that skill, but learn the degree, if you know what I'm saying. And so they become narcissistic Fs, like just bad people. Like, they basically just love to control and manipulate other people. And they have a degree to do it, so they can. But that's the problem with that business in the whole. If you ask me, my experience has been like that with counseling too. I've had some really good ones, and like, I've had some really bad ones. So,
right. So I want to shift my question to a method that you use to overcome your adversity, like depression. You kind of mentioned a couple of things: music, like medication, or counseling. What do you suggest for people who are going through depression in terms of using your experience that, can maybe quickly come out of it, or like something that you can give a tangible advice to people who are going through this adversity?
Okay, so my depression comes with a lot of, again, I guess you would call it anger management. I don't really I get more angry inside thinking about things than I ever do externally. Once in a while though, like, I'll be like, I want to hit something. So if you're feeling like that my number one favorite thing when it's irritation and it's just like, I can't believe what's going on, exercise, punching, especially. Like, sometimes I'll just pretend like I know karate, like Julie is practicing right now, and I'll just like pretend I'm Bruce Lee and just like, you just get that energy out like that right away. Exercise of any kind helps boost endorphins. That makes you feel happier. Automatically, just your brain will boost it, or do a video game that's like that, like fitness boxing or something like that. Like, those types of things, it just can really help turn you around. And if you make that a habit, something you do whenever you're feeling like a little irritated or things are getting down, move, stretch, move around, it helps a lot. Like I said, find your meditation. For me, it's music. Okay, so I think making something creative is really a good way to do things. So if you're into any type of painting, drawing, other types of things, when you make it a habit when you're not feeling great to do that thing. So if you're good at drawing, well, just try to draw your feelings. Draw it out. I play my feelings out. You express your feelings out in some way. And if you're a talkative person and you enjoy talking with people, have that one or two friends that's going to be able to pick up the phone for you every time when you need them, and just talk it out. You'll be surprised how much better you feel if you just talk about it. Mm-hmm. And especially with someone that's a friend, not someone you're close with intimately. I would advise not talking about that too much with your partner. Not zero, but like you don't want to drive your partner crazy too. Like, and that's the other tricky part. I'm married, and my wife, oh God bless her, she really does help me when I'm down. And it's good to have a person like that in your life, but you can't always count on that person being willing to help you immediately because they go through stress too, being around you. You need one person you can talk to. You need to think of who that person is and like know the secret code word or whatever it is, or whatever way to give them a little wink and say like, "Hey, can we talk, please?" And I need to get like, and just get stuff off your chest. Since one way or another, whether it's creative, whether it's like just a meditation thing or yoga or stretching, like I said, like all those things are kind of interconnected. There are ways to break a pattern. There are ways to boost endorphins in your brain. For me, that's like any type of natural way to feel better about yourself. And it's a natural in like a real chemical way too. I mean, those things really do help you feel better. So, well, in my for me, like those are the main things that I do. And I try not to drink too much or do other types of things like when I'm feeling down, but I don't do zero. Like I try to just keep try to feel like a normal lifestyle. And going out for a drink with friends is probably a great way to relieve some stress and feel really good. So, don't feel too like scared, oh, I don't want to become an alcoholic stuff. And if you are an alcoholic and you have an issue, well, your friends will tell you and like you'll probably get the help you need. But don't feel bad about going out and having fun either. Find those things that are fun. I mean, I'm in like a dad's band right now, and we're playing like heavy rock songs and stuff. That is something that's making me super happy at the moment. Because every time I get in the studio and I'm with these guys that can play really well, I'm like, dang, we're a good band. This feels fun. And like, yeah, and for me, that's what it is. That's what makes me feel great. When I'm playing music, I'm playing it well and I'm enjoying it. And it's fun. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And my last question, thank you for sharing the coping skills. And then
Oh,
I really hope that the listeners can take something from this interview and then maybe apply if they need to. It's really different coming from somebody who had been through adversity and have tried a lot of methods and that works than like the say reading about it, googling or YouTube or counseling. This is a platform that I wanted to create personally because more than a lot of people went through adversities and then a lot of people like survived and then thriving that why, how, and then that's the part that I wanted to find out. So I really appreciate you um sharing these tools that actually work for you. And I think more toolbox and then variety of things that we have access to, that is really the key to overcome the stigma. And also, I just recently kind of had an epiphany that I wanted to share with you and audience is that when, as a parent, we know when the kid or myself too, or adult, when we know, like, how to aid, how to help when we have fever or when we have so when we have fever in America, we take Tylenol, ibuprofen,
right.
and bounce back and forth for the kids, and then they'll be fine. Now, when it comes to the mental health, a lot of people don't know what to do, and then people don't understand that is not like the forever thing. It's just like a fever. It's temporary, seasonal things, and it's a condition that goes away. But in the moment, it feels like hell. It feels like it's never gonna end. So how do you aid that? So the coping skill that you mentioned, like a
Right.
physical activities, painting, and then breathing. Sometimes when people are prepared and they know what to do for you and for your children or for your friends, instead of like calling police or like going extreme, just have this, drink a tea, take a shower, hold an ice cube. Those are the things that if you are prepared, then you don't freak out. And then okay, this is just a condition. We have these 5 things that we can do together. Let's try them all. Or even before you get into depression or panic attack, you can constantly do these things. So my epiphany is that, why do we talk about health so openly? And then why do we have so many methods to tackle health issues such as fever or cuts? But why do we not have this accessibility, openness, and then normalization of recognizing the mental health to start with, and have to cope with it methods? So that is my epiphany. Why don't we just think that as fever, that you can just know what to do? So that's kind of my recent discovery.
Mm-hmm. That's a good thing to be thinking about. I mean, I teach kids. I've taught kids is kind of my main forte for years here in Japan. So in young children, when you're raising them as a teacher and as a parent, now I've had both of those experiences. Yeah, you got to identify things, and when you have your own issues, trust me, your kids are watching you. And so they learn all the habits that you kind of do. And then I mean, getting irritated, like I was trying to describe before, sometimes I'll be irritated and I'll be like, and yeah, like my son might copy that kind of of attitude, and I identify it. And usually when I identify it, I'm like, hey man, hey, I just say, let's talk, let's calm down, just take a seat. And we try to talk about it, try to talk about how he feels. Number one important thing when you're dealing with kids, doesn't matter if you're a teacher, doesn't matter if you're a parent, yelling at them for what they're doing is never, ever going to help anything. If you're just getting angry because they're acting angry and copying you, then that's ridiculous. That's a circular loop. That's the definition of craziness. It's never going to end. It's going to keep getting worse, actually. The loop will get bigger and bigger and stronger until it's a big rolling force of anger, for lack of a better term. So, I mean, it's really important to calm down. Yeah, try to slow, just talk the kids in slowly to removing themselves a little bit from the situation, calming down, understand their feelings. I go, I know how you feel. That's what I always tell my kid. Like, dude, I know how you feel, man. Like, I know how you feel. You feel angry at the kid that wrote something bad to you on the video game or whatever it is nowadays. It's amazing. Our kids are using social media like things already at their age. I cut it down quite a bit. I only let him play games and sometimes play with anonymous people, but still, there's things like that. Like the first time you feel that you've been trolled, it's the same way we feel every time we get trolled. We're like, that son of a bitch. You're really, really, really angry at that person at that moment. But, if you're smart about it, over time, you stop reacting. You don't let emotion dictate your actions. And I think that's a Bruce Lee quote. Bruce Lee, famously was talking about this once. That's the key to success really in life, is that if you don't, you learn to feel, you understand your emotions, but you don't let it control you. And if you start letting it control you, well, then that's when everything goes wrong. So I try to have that discussion with my kid. I just keep it real with them. I know exactly how you feel. And so you need to remember that right now, all you're doing is making a mistake on this homework problem. It's okay if you make a mistake, because it's not easy to do. And I made lots of mistakes growing up. And I was also frustrated kind of like you. In fact, we're very similar. Strange that, my kid being similar to me. You need to realize that they're little versions of you, and they're watching you, and they know what you're like, and they react emotionally in a lot of the same ways you're going to act. And since I'm depressed and I get angry about and irritated about things, he tends to show some of those same traits to a lesser degree, and it's better. And I feel me and my wife are very supportive to him, but he's a dual citizen, a dual language kid too. And, you probably met people like that and thought, oh, how lucky is that kid to be able to speak 2 languages? Not every kid's the same, though. Both my kids took a long time to learn to speak both languages. In fact, my daughter, by even age 5 or 6, like had a tough time speaking Japanese or English she was very young. My older daughter, my son was just like he was very focused on English, but the Japanese was very hard. So when he went to school, Japanese school, first it was quite difficult, but now he's fine. But it took a while. And other kids just learn it like that. Like 1 or 2, they're speaking English or speaking Japanese, but every kid's different. Every kid has their own pace. Although they're similar to you, they're not exactly the same as you either. So you need to remember that. Let them be themselves, understand who they are, and try to think of what you can say to help them calm down, to help them listen, and to help think it through. You got to think it through. Is the first time you played a video game, did you win everything? No, you lost many times. You make mistakes. Just every kid needs to learn to make mistakes and be okay with making mistakes. And those kids that make mistakes all the time need to feel good about getting things right. So it's like you just need to learn to push that right button and make it feel really good to succeed. But it's okay. It's okay to fail to get to success. But don't feel too bad about failing, right? Like you're going to fail all the time in life. Everybody fails, and you need to learn. You need to learn to fail.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part for kids, I think, in general to learn. My kid in particular, but that creates mental health issues for them. There are no such things as kids counseling and stuff. That's like when you said that waiting for a year in the line to go to counseling for your kid. Woo. I can imagine that it's pretty rare and pretty popular thing. But you need to be the counselor. You need to be the person talking to your kid. And you need to relax the situations whenever possible. Always try to relax it, calm down, take a deep breath. It's okay to feel upset. I know people feel upset. I feel upset all the time. You see Daddy being upset, because I can't find my keys. Where are my keys? Everybody goes through stuff like that, and the kids watch it and they try to copy it because that's what they have in front of them, right? Those are things to keep in mind, but it's not easy, is it? It's not easy being a parent. It's not easy in teaching either. You have to identify those problems as a teacher and try to find a way to talk to the parent without embarrassing the parent. And that's really tricky too, but it's all about communication in the end.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So the last part of the show is always for the guest to talk about a gift that came from adversity. So what is a gift that came from your adversity?
Okay. Well, I mean, the obvious choice is music. And so let me put it this way. I would say, especially the music for this last film and making this film, during the entire time of making the project, my father was ill. He was in and out of hospitals, and eventually he passed away. So that was hard for me. We had gotten in physical fights as a kid and lots of abusive arguments. He didn't understand my desire to want to live away from the family. And he went through a lot of tough stuff in his life. He had a very high stressful job. And he's addicted to his work, literally, as a lawyer, a very successful one. But I mean, all he did was work. And that was the only thing that made him happy in life, was working, which I thought was kind of nuts. But it's fine to feel happy when you work, but you got to have more than just work in your life. You're going to work yourself to death, which is literally kind of what happened to him. So unfortunately, during the making of music for this film, off and on, I felt like I wasn't going to be able to do it. But it turned out that being in a pandemic kind of all of a sudden after my dad's death and having all this extra time drove me to the point where I just started creating. I just stayed up all night, a couple days in a row, I think, and I was just recording every single instrument I had in my room here. This is my studio, by the way. You see my stuff, guitar back there, everything. I started really working on music for the film, and from then I ended up making the entire soundtrack, which was about 11 tracks of music total. And I also scored all the music in the film, and that felt like, the film deals with real hard issues, including dealing with sickness and death. I had just been through that, and so it was a very tough thing to watch over and over again while you're making music. But at the same time, I could relate to it because I just went through it, and it was kind of cathartic. So I would say that biggest gift from the adversity I had and learning to deal with the pain of my father's loss and like the issues that I had that kind of led to me not to having depression and having different issues, but forgiving him as well, and knowing that he was just as imperfect as I am imperfect, and he did his best, and then he truly loved us, and he truly worked like crazy to help us, So I have to be thankful for what I got for it too. And so it was a big gift for me when the film finally came out, when the music could finally be played, especially playing it for family members. It's personal for me. And it's like, it really is. This is like kind of like me. This is me showing my dad, how far I've gotten in making music, and what a beautiful project, I could be a part of and make some really nice tunes. And it's my first release in a while, in about 15 years, real big release by me personally. And it sparked a lot more music coming. I've got loads of songs ready to go. So they're almost ready. You're going to get to hear them soon on my music label. But that's the gift. And from a very tough time in my life, dealing with passing of my dad. But hey, I think a big part of it is even people that help cause your problems in life. You got to learn to try to forgive, and you have to learn to accept and love people that you don't like, or even to do terrible things to. It's such a hard thing to do, because human beings, it's just human nature to be hypocritical. So you'll say one day, oh, I love this person, they're so nice. And the next day, I hate what that person just said, they're scum. Yeah, it's so easy nowadays to have your emotions toyed with like that. Don't let emotions control your actions. Be open-minded, listen to both sides of the argument. It's almost never 100% one way or the other, no matter what it is we're talking about here. And I'm not going to get political or anything like that now, but I'm just people need to listen to everyone. Treat everyone as equally as you can. And sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes it's a person that you can't help, but you at least need to try to engage. And nowadays, people don't even try to engage. It's just immediately, you're a communist. That's kind of old, I guess. I'm getting old.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing a gift. And again, thank you so much for coming to my show. And as I finish my show, that I just really appreciate with the time difference and the scheduling to be on my show today. So we will talk soon, Darren.
Yeah.
Yes, for our audience, thank you for tuning in to A Gift from Adversity, and then we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.